My high ass clicking shit. Welcome back to Haddonfield Horrors Podcast, where we review horror movies and horror movie franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
and today we're watching Rec 4 The Apocalypse, which came out on video on demand in 2014. Very interesting movie, but before we get into that, Tuan, can you give the people a plot summary?
The survivors of a strange contagion turning humans into ghouls are aboard a quarantine ship where a doctor attempts to work out the source of the outbreak.
So, Rec 4 The Apocalypse. First off, the name is very misleading because there was no apocalypse. I was expecting like the Walking Dead type shit or like World War Z. I was let down a lot. How about you?
Very much so. Like seeing the name Apocalypse like in the title, like you automatically are thinking like big, like in terms of scale and everything. But like the scale of this movie was more like contained like the first movie, like the first two movies actually. Like
Which is a
the
letdown.
Yeah, which it is funny because like three had more of a scale, and even though it was like a wedding and stuff, it felt more like scale because they went to like different areas that they were in for like the wedding and such. But this was like way more like just as contained as the first two, which in theory wouldn't be a bad thing. But I'm still when I see apocalypse, I'm thinking like, oh damn, we're about to be in like some 28 days later type stuff now.
See, I feel like it should have kept getting bigger and bigger. With we were in a bigger. There were like you said, there was more scale in the third movie. We saw more places. So I'm thinking this is the apocalypse. It's gonna be show us the whole fucking city.
Hmm.
Like go like Resident Evil style, and like the whole city's overrun, and she's trying to escape the city, or white people trying to escape the city. But no, we're on a fucking boat. What'd you
Yeah.
think about the whole boat setting? What was your thoughts on that?
It was different. That's one thing I could say. Like I would have never thought like the boat setting would have been a thing. So that was definitely like different for it. I I won't say I disliked it, but I can say that I liked it also. Um,
I don't know too many horror movies that are like based on boats. I mean, I know one.
it was
Uh, there,
was it
there,
probably
there's a
is it Ghost
there's
Ship?
a I've never seen Ghost Ship, but there
Oh,
is
okay.
a Jason movie that takes Jason Takes Manhattan
Oh, I love that
is
one.
that one is set on like that 85% of movies is on the fucking boat. And I also love that. That's actually my favorite Jason movie of all that. People hate that
Yeah,
movie
I love
because
that one too. It's unintentionally hilarious.
yeah, and like Rec 4, like the title is completely misleading, but I fucking love that movie. It's my favorite Jason movie, but I don't know too many like I don't know any zombie movies that have to do with boats. And I keep having to like remind myself this isn't like a traditional zombie virus movie. This is all religious.
Yeah, which I
No
feel like
preacher this time.
yeah,
Like
that's
am
what
I
I say. I
missing?
feel like that got lost this time. I feel like it just felt like straight up zombies this time. Like we didn't get any of like the religious subtext this pretty much. Even though they brought back Angela and stuff, we didn't get like a lot of like the religious subtext that was in like the first couple movies.
Yeah, it was all scientists and doctors. There wasn't a priest unless it was one of the no. There it was all scientists and doctors.
Yeah, if I were, yeah, I don't think there weren't any priests or anything this time around.
But what was one of your favorite scenes or scenes that you liked or disliked?
I would say the scenes, probably the best scenes in the movie were when they used like, I think it was the rotor from one of the boats as a weapon
Love
against
that.
the zombies. That was the best part. Like that when I forget the character's name, but he like used it on one of the zombies like heads and like he cracked his skull open with it. That was cool. And when Angela used it against the monkeys when they were in the vent and they were just like running towards it. I
I
thought that was
love the
cool.
inclusion of the monkeys, but the CGI was so bad.
Yeah, that was probably the worst that the CGI got in this whole series because they did like everything, even in this movie, everything else in like all the past movies, the CGI has been like really good. Like you could barely tell they were CG used until you looked at like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, those monkeys were trash. I think for me, one of my favorite scenes is the opening scene when they like rush in there and they're trying to like rescue Angela, and then like Manu from the second movie pops up and tries to kill them, and then Jennifer's dad from the second movie tried to kill them.
Hmm.
I will say I do like how the series goes back and like, okay, they returned with the zombies in the last movie. We need to come in to bring them back to play zombies for the new ones. I do like that kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
that scene where it's just like Angela and Guzman are just like looking at each other, because I forgot that Angela, we found out that she was possessed in the second one. I completely forgot about that.
Hmm.
So I wasn't. So I was like, why is this scene so intense? He's rescuing her. It took me a while to be like, oh yeah, it's right. She was infected. But with that being said, how did they know she was infected?
Yeah, that I I don't they did that wasn't even I don't think that was explained at all because we didn't even know really until the end of the second one.
Which
And
takes place like 5 minutes before this one starts.
yeah, so and especially because they if they thought she was infected, I thought they they probably would have just shot her. They shot everybody else who they thought was infected. So now we just randomly think she's infected all of a sudden, which turns out to be a lie because she transferred it.
Yeah, I didn't understand like how did they know she was infected? Like where did they even get that idea from? But I think my other favorite scene, I did like all the callbacks to the found footage, how they were like looking to cameras,
Hmm.
like security cameras. I always like that those callbacks. Um, what scene? With the one with the monkeys climbing through the fucking
Yeah, the
ventilation.
vents.
I was like, oh, this is intense. These monkeys about to fuck them up. Like, what's worse than zombies? Like monkeys are fucking crazy anyway.
Yep.
But now they're like zombie infected monkeys. Like they're gonna rip these people in half. And I did love when the what was he spinning again? I think you mentioned it.
Yeah, it was like a rotor from a boat.
Yeah, and when they all the monkeys were just like coming down again, like chopped up like that scene. Looked back at the CGI, but it also was like, oh, this is a cool scene. This is actually I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
Scene I hate the last scene with the fucking CGI demon slug enters with like a fucking
Fish.
piranha or fucking fish.
Uh,
I was like, you could have just kept that out. Like
was.
if they would have just like did like an aerial shot of like the slug swimming under the water
Hmm.
and you see like a shadow or something, I would have liked that better. But like that CGI shit was horrible. And where the fuck was Angela and that guy going? They just
Yeah,
got they like, what the
they
fuck?
just made it to shore, and like now, like I guess that's the most of a happy ending we're gonna get. I mean, she got out of it. I will give her that. Like our final girl, our final girl got infected and made it out.
But let's talk about her. Let's talk about Angela. What did you think about her coming back in this movie?
It was good to see like a familiar face, like her and the guy. I think it was Guzman. Wasn't he in the second one? Because that's the one she transferred into,
No, he
right?
was new. He was
He
new.
was
See,
new.
I thought that initially too, but he wasn't in the second one. He was only in this one.
He wasn't okay. Well, I did like her coming back, like because the actress is good. Like she did good, and I didn't mind her character coming back and everything, but also like we said earlier, I was confused like how would they just known she was infected and also like to test on her and everything, especially in like you have like so many other like corpses and stuff that you could have tested on. Like why are we testing on her? I guess because she survived, which I mean sure, but I mean she could have just survived without having to get tested on, but the actress herself and everything coming back to for it and doing it. It was good to see a familiar face and like have her like back in the forefront. It felt like definitely like a continuation aside like since three wasn't a direct continuation and this one was so that worked for me. I didn't really mind like her coming back or not.
I was happy to see her back because also the poster's also misleading. On the poster, like she's like standing on like a bunch of fucking bodies and shit. So I was like, this is gonna be fucking wild.
Yeah,
But I was also hoping that she was gonna be like the antagonist for most of the movie.
that's what I would thought as well. going into it after seeing the end of two. Like I don't know, honestly, like I thought it was like once again like Resident Evil. I thought it was gonna be like some Resident Evil type stuff, like you know how the Red Queen controls all the zombies and stuff. Like I thought like she was kind of
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like that, like controlling like the zombies or and things like that. And like
That would have been
um,
cool.
that's what I thought going into it. Because when I initially saw this movie like years back, I just looked up the plot summary and saw she was coming back, and going off the end of two, I was like, oh well, like she's in control now. I thought she was gonna like control the zombies or whatever, but we obviously didn't get that.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be like the main antagonist, and they were gonna like save her in the end. She was gonna be,
Maybe I have to do an exorcism or something.
it was gonna be like some Alice type shit from Resident Evil, but I was like disappointed. I wanted her to be bad, but she wasn't, which was really sad. But what about the new guy? What about Guzman, the
I
one
like
who was infected?
Yeah, I liked his character. I definitely didn't think he was the infected one, of course, until we got to the end of the movie. But also, when they like showed like Angela like infecting him, I'm like, would she not have memory of that, or would she have memory of that? I wasn't like
I feel like
would the virus like block her from having the memory of that? I wasn't sure.
because it's not explained if like while the slug is inside him, the slug
Yeah,
has complete control. It's never because I was wondering, like I thought they would have been like on autopilot, kind of how like the Get Out situation where they're like aware, but they just weren't in control. But apparently they weren't. She wasn't aware because that was weird.
I did. Yeah, I did like his character though. It's good. Like, yeah, Angela was good, and it was good to have someone else there to like kind of like be a little bit of a leader almost. And he was taking out most of the zombies to be honest. um,
I feel like it was a letdown because like he's a new character
yeah,
who we just met, who we know nothing about. So it was like it was a disconnect. It would have been more. It would if it was Manu, it would have been perfect.
true.
But it wasn't. It was this new guy. But I guess you were right. He was taking out half the fucking zombies. I also didn't think he was gonna die. I thought she was gonna find someone to save him and like get the demonic slug out of him. I was
Mm,
expecting that to happen.
yeah, that's what I thought as well. Or like that's what I thought like I thought like maybe she would have remembered like the religious stuff and maybe would have done something, but see that didn't even come up.
They just said the hell with all the fucking religious shit. I guess that was probably director's choice. Because man, the first two movies were made by like a directing team.
True.
So I'm guessing the one who did Rec 4 probably wasn't really big with the religion overtone because the religious stuff played a big part in part 3 with the other director.
Yeah.
So and I wonder if they made these movies like simultaneously because well the old lady who was on the ship, she was alluded to being a wedding guest survivor from
Mm,
part 3. It would have been better if it was one of the characters that we have actually saw in part 3, like
yeah.
someone who we like Tito or the mother or like the bride's mother,
Yep.
someone that we actually met. But I guess that works. But let's talk about Doctor Ricarte, like the he wasn't was he the main doctor? I forgot already. Yep, Ricarte. What you think about him? Because he the one who was doing all the fucking tests and was like, she has to have it. She has to be infected.
I hate to say this. I don't want to. I really didn't have like much of an opinion on him. Like more so, it's like okay, you think she's infected, but like why? But as like this guy's supposed to be a doctor. This guy's like one of the worst doctors. Like everything that was going on that they were trying to do for like the science of it all, like on this ship was like why why are we first of all why are we on this ship anyway? Like I understand we gave like the backstory of it, but they should have
No,
went
the
to like
backstory made no sense. Like we this is the safest place away from civilization.
yeah, I'm
Like
like
is it
no military.
though?
We don't have
Is
like
it?
military like places that y'all can go. Like I know the
It
military
should
has
have been.
strongholds or something.
It should have been like a military ship, if anything, like a navy ship, put it on a Navy base. Like it just
Yeah,
there had to be some black site where there was like I'm pretty sure there's a black site somewhere with like medical shit set up for like shit like this,
yeah, bioterrorism
like
type
accident
stuff, or
biochem. Yeah,
yeah, like that type of stuff. Because they didn't know it was like a religious thing. They probably thought it was like a bioterrorism type of thing or something. So like I know they have like I know they would have sites for stuff like that, but this like random rundown ship was not the way he.
yeah, and I think that's my biggest beef with this movie is since the first one I have been very iffy with the whole demonic zombie possession, but at least the other three addressed it. They had like priests there. There are people who were spouting like scripture and putting up crosses and shit. This movie didn't have any of that. It just had scientists. I'm like, you can't go back to science when this whole thing's been based off religion in the first three movies.
Yeah,
Now you're trying to go strictly with science, trying to find a cure, trying to find an antidote. This is the fourth part to a movie series, and you're trying to completely change what the fuck the virus, like what the fuck the antagonist is.
and yeah,
Movie
that's
is
where it
dumb.
starts to. Yeah, that's kind of where it started to fall apart. Some like if I just watched it, like if I just watched this movie with no context of the rest of the movies, I probably still wouldn't say this was like like a really good movie, but I also would just be like, okay, it's just a zombie movie. But with the knowledge of all the other ones, it's like, oh, these are zombie movies with religious subtext. Like the zombies aren't just regular zombies; they're started from something like demonic almost, and you kind of lost that touch with that with this one, and going the way of just having the doctors there and like the scientists try to like figure it out when we know from the other ones like it's a little bit more, and I feel like Angela would know that as well at this point. Like she didn't call upon it either, so it was
See,
just
I don't think she knows though, because remember in the first movie they because if we go based off the slug has complete control.
yep,
So she discovers all the weird preach like the whole like clippings about Tristiana and all of that.
that's true.
And then Tristiana immediately drags her away and infects her. So the entire time we see Angela in part two,
She was under control.
she's the slug. And if the slug has complete control, then Angela wouldn't be aware of that the priest was there, that it was all religious based. So I forgive Angela for not like calling that shit out.
That's true.
But somebody should have called that shit out. Like anyone. But what do you think about Captain Ortega?
Kind of
A
forgot.
bad ship captain.
Yeah, I kind
Like
of forgot. Wait, didn't he kill himself?
I think he did. He the worst ship captain since the captain of Titanic. Like
Like
just
if yeah,
useless.
like if I recall, like once the zombies like really started like coming up and going at it, I'm pretty sure didn't he just go like I think he went to like the side of the ship and we didn't see him anymore. So I think it was like he
Mm-hmm.
just like killed himself. I mean,
I
probably
have to say
same.
I hate that in horror movies when characters just disappear and it's like no, come back. What the fuck? Where are you going?
Yeah, probably, but I'm not gonna lie, same though, cause yeah, we're on a ship already. We not getting saved anytime soon, so probably same. But yeah, he really didn't do anything. He was just there to get like cursed out by Guzman and the rest of them. And then once he saw the zombies, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna just nope out of here."
Yeah, everyone was kind of like bitching him the entire movie.
No, for
So when he
real.
left, I was like, I'm kind of mad that he just disappeared, but like also like come the fuck back. Yeah, because they were trying to get the parasite out, but then like he was like attacking them. He caused a bunch of bullshit. They were trying to like help, but he ruined shit. What you think about creepy Nick?
He was the hacker, right? Like the one who
Yeah,
was like,
he was the one that was watching
he,
Angela and the security cameras.
yeah, he only came like well he did he came in clutch like I would say a couple of times, one with being able to like hack onto the ship and everything like and like get all the like the data and all that stuff, and then um like helping Angela like against Guzman. So I will say that he actually did come in handy, but he was a creep. Just like watching on the cameras and stuff, like yeah, we didn't need that, but he did come in handy. So I will give his character that, and he made it out. So that's another thing.
Which I'm surprised for. Like, how the fuck did he survive? Of all the people on the ship, how did Nick survive? Like, what the fuck? I did not see that coming. I thought he was for sure a fucking goner.
Yeah, if I had to like guess who would have survived, like if they were actually going to be survivors, I just probably would have thought it'd be Angela by herself and nobody else.
Still shit. But what about Goro?
Goro, I'm drawing a blank on Goro.
So am I actually.
I
Why the
feel
hell did
like
I put
there's
him
just,
now?
I feel like nobody in this movie is like sticking out like that, and I hate to
Yeah,
say that.
besides like Angela and Guzman and Nick, and only really Nick because he survived Angela. That's the only reason you really like pay any attention to him.
Yeah, and it's like
Like
the
everyone else, like because there were so many characters in the last one in the third movie that you were just like connected to.
yeah, and I can recall way more people from like three and from like three in the past ones, but like with this one, it's just like they were really just there to like die.
Like for three, there are characters who I know based off scenes that I enjoy them in, and I don't know their names. But with this one, I don't know. I can't recall most scenes I like to dislike because, like, with part three, the guy who killed himself, like that whole bit was like fucked up. Not to mention the drunk zombie uncle, like all gold.
Yeah, and it's like yeah, and then when it's like when it comes to this one, there wasn't really like much to like stick around with. I would say, like you could have like I could have like not done with this entry and not affected anything else, but we have it, so it's like here, and I'm recalling like a lot of what happened, and I remember a lot of what happened in it, but it's just not like memorable really.
It's a movie that you don't need to see ever again after you've seen it once.
Pretty much.
Like the first one was good, a lot of jump scares, like shit gets crazy fast. The second one's a good follow up. The third one feels completely different. It's brighter. It has more characters. It has a bigger feel. This one is a lackluster finale to the series.
Mhm.
Like it's disappointing. Like I freaking hate it.
And it's crazy to think like these are like everybody is still like the people involved with the first couple movies.
Yeah, it's the same team. I mean, yeah, they split up, but splitting up doesn't mean that you completely fucking forgot. Like you were part of the first two movies.
Yeah,
You should still have kept that. I mean, looking back, thinking about it now, I can kind of see like how their directorial styles differ because in the third movie, the one guy like it was brighter, it was much more fast play pace. There was like a set story.
hmm
There were a bunch of like memorable side characters you focused on, and things got moving. But with this guy, it's fewer characters, not that much story. It's all like we need to get the zombies, get the killer, get to the end. Like it's dark and it's pretty. It's just it's a bad zombie movie. When the other ones, it had like the weird god. See, that's what I would have wanted. You call it the apocalypse. You have Tristiana out there with the slug. They should have just went deeper into the whole like religious lore.
it's true, and I wouldn't mind any of that. Like, because I mean, we were set up for that anyway.
You already did it, so just keep on like give me an archangel.
And like,
Make it like Legion.
oh, Legion was, oh, I love Legion actually.
I do too.
And it's like I get that this movie like it kind of the budget was still kind of the same as the others, which I'm like I understand like they were like on like a budget,
Yeah,
but
the budget for this was 4.9 million.
yeah, so I understand like budget constrictions, but I think maybe a different story would have worked, and also it not being called Apocalypse.
Ooh, this actually the budget for this one is actually smaller than the budget from the last one. because
Really?
Rec 3 had $10.1 million budget,
Oh damn.
and this only had 4.9. So it was significantly lower.
Hmm. And both went to DVD, right?
No, Rec 3 was the last one to be released theatrically.
Hmm.
The next one, the Rec 4, went straight to video on demand.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes a little bit more sense then.
Well, he should have adapted his story to fit his budget.
That's
He
true.
didn't do that. That's poor direction. You need to learn how to balance a checkbook. I'm sorry. You get no pass from me. But overall, if you had to put, well, yeah, okay, so this is the last one in this the franchise, the Spanish version. If they were to make a fifth one, what would you think? Like, where would you go from here?
Um, I think if I were to make another one, I probably would just to like go back to the basics of it with it being found footage and stuff. I probably would go back found footage just because to get that feel of the first one. Um, maybe have it take place some years after things like that. And in my head, I would see it as like maybe some people actually knew about the religious subtext of it. Maybe they're trying to like channel the zombies themselves or something like that, or I don't know, but I don't know. Like, I feel like I would do something more with like the religious plot of it all. Like I feel like there's a lot they could play you could play into with that.
Isn't the Vatican aware? The Vatican the one who covered it up.
That's true.
Like, so send like make it like action packed. So like send like some secret elite like Vatican squad of like SWAT people from the Vatican out to hunt down the slug, and then they kidnap Angela and Nick and grab the priest from part 3 to connect them all, and then they all just go out and start fucking like mowing down. Like, okay, the fucking slug shark thing landed on this remote island with a small population of people, and it's in somebody, and it's like this whole weird slug cult shit going on. So then they go there and they fight their way through the jungle and take them out. That's not a horror movie anymore. It's an act. Either way, I just made it into Predator, but still, it's better than what the fuck this. But Tuan, what is your rating out of 5 for Rec 4: The Apocalypse?
I probably would give Rec 4 a 2 out of 5. It's
That's generous.
Yeah, I don't want to give it a 1. It wasn't like the most terrible thing ever, but for everything else that we passed so far has been like good to like very good, like the first going into the first one, but now it's definitely felt a little bit dip in quality. And yeah, I would say a 2 out of 5 would be my rating. Angela was still good. Like her and the actress that plays her, like she did what she had to do for the role. But yeah, pretty much everything else, and some of the kills were good too. Which in a zombie movie, you guys gotta rank the kill. So some of the kills in here were good too. But everything else was a bit of a letdown, story wise, location wise. Kind of wanted a bit more, especially given the title. But we got what we got, and I give it a 2 out of 5.
For me, I give it a 2 out of 5 because Angela was back, an actress. For her not to be an actual actress, to be an actual TV presenter, she was killing it in these 3 movies. So I give it 2 out of 5 for her. But overall, like throughout the 4 movies, I didn't really like the whole demonic possession thing, zombie thing. But that's what you gave me for 3 movies. So you can't come to the fourth one and then drop the ball on the whole religious aspect of your religious zombie movie. Like that's not how this works. You can't do that.
Mm.
So and then it being set on the boat in the ocean, the CGI, the final guy being Nick made like there's a lot of things that just made no sense. So for that, it gets a 2 out of 5 for me because it just so much didn't make sense. Bringing Angela back made sense. Everything else, completely fucking wrong. Well, that's the end of the Rec portion of the Rec franchise, because next week we are reviewing Quarantine, which is a remake of the first Rec movie, and it's a shot-for-shot remake, but made American, so it should be interesting. The Haddonfield Horrors podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?